Hey, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This is Chris Shoemaker, also known as Yehudah ben Shomeyr, and welcome to the Weekly Way, your weekly devotional commentary on the Torah, half-Torah, and Brit Chadasha portions. Today we are in Parashah number 20, which is Tetzaveh, which means you are to order, and it's taken from Exodus chapter 27, verse 20, all the way to chapter 30, verse 10. Now, this Torah portion is dealing mostly with the priestly garments, and just like any occupation and any uniform that comes with an occupation, whether it be a firefighter, a mail carrier, a doctor, a construction worker, an engineer, what have you, their uniforms not only identify who they are and what they do, but there's symbolic meaning and purpose behind their uniforms, and it's not only for identification, but it's for functionality as well. So we're going to be exploring the priestly garments, and we're going to start with the breastplate, which in Hebrew is called the Hoshen. It's 10 inches square. It's like a handspan attached by golden rings to the ephod. Now the ephod is like an apron. We'll get to that in a minute. But 12 different precious stones with the names of the tribes of Israel inscribed on them were set in this breastplate. And so the 12 tribes were to be on the priest's heart at all times. Also, there was a little pocket created within this breastplate that contained the mysterious Urim and Thummim used to make decisions. It was kind of like casting lots to make a decision and to determine what God's will is. So the ephod represents God's hand with all the names of Israel inscribed on his hand, and only he knows the destiny and the path for all of Israel. Isaiah 49:16 says, "Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hand. Thy walls are continually before me." So let's move on to the ephod, or the apron. The ephod was made up of gold, blue, scarlet, and purple wool linen blend, which this blend is forbidden for non-priests to wear. So there is a commandment that is prohibiting the wearing of a garment that is a wool and linen blend, and we see that the only person that wears this blend of fabric is the Levitical priest. Now the colors are very symbolic. Gold represents identity, and the identity is divinity. It relates to the divine. It relates to the Godhead. Blue represents origin, and the origin is the heavenly realm. Purple represents position, which is royalty. It's a royal color. Scarlet represents purpose, and that is atonement. And linen is symbolic of result, which means purity and righteousness. And I guess the wool could represent also purpose, which is atonement, because it was by that animal that atonement was made. So it was attached at the shoulders by two black onyx stones with the 12 tribes inscribed on them. One priesthood, so this priesthood would have the weight of the entire nation on his shoulders. So the gold rings were on the side, and it attached to the breastplate. So let's go and explore the sash, or the girdle, or as the Hebrew, the avnet, to symbolically separate the sexual organs and the urges. It separates the urges from the head and the heart, from the lower sexual part of the body. So that's kind of what the girdle, or the sash, the belt, if you will, where the priest tied to his waist, it separated those two portions of the body, and it's symbolic of separating spirit and flesh. So it was made of the same material as the ephod, the apron. So moving on to the robe itself, the robe was a seamless garment made of techelet, which techelet is a special type of blue dye that was used. It's the blue where we're commanded to put in our tzitzit, in our fringes, and we're to wear at the four corners of our garments. So on this robe at the bottom was alternating gold bells and pomegranates attached to the bottom hem, and and there was a reinforcing hem around the collar. So that was the robe. Let's move on to the tunic. The kuhonet, also the turban, which is called the mitzneft, It's kind of hard to pronounce in Hebrew when you're not used to putting certain letters together. And the tzitzit, or the frontlet, which had holy to Yud-He-Vav-He on it. So the tunic was embroidered, made of linen with, it was a linen, and it was kind of type of a wedding garment that the priests were represented, that the priests were symbolically married to Yud-He-Vav-He, to Hashem, to God. So that's the tunic. Now the turban was wrapped, made from 8 yards of material, and it was wrapped around the head. And then there was a gold frontlet plate with the engraving Kadosh Yud-He-Vav-He, or holy to Yud-He-Vav-He. Yud-He-Vav-He is the 4 Hebrew letter name of God. The reason I'm spelling it out is because we don't pronounce it. We don't know how it's pronounced. And so as to keep the name sacred and holy, and so as not to mispronounce the name or to take it in vain or abuse it in any way, we just spell it out instead of actually saying it, even though that there are different theories on how the 4-letter name of God is pronounced. So this was sort of like tefillin, in other words, to be a constant, sober reminder of their sacred duty, that God and His holiness was at the forefront of their mind always while they were operating as a Levitical priest and going about their duties. Now let's discuss the undergarment. The undergarment, it was a doubled fine linen apron, which comes to the knees. Now, there was also an embroidered coat, and it was like kind of a diamond checkerboard-like pattern, and it was embroidered with precious stones set in it. Now, the breastplate itself, the gems, we're going to talk about the gems from left to right. Reuben had the sardis stone, Simeon had the topaz, Levi had the emerald, Judah had the turquoise, Dan had the sapphire, Naphtali had the diamond, Gad had the jacinth, Asher had the agate, and Issachar had the amethyst, Zebulun had the beryl, Joseph had the onyx, and Benjamin the jasper. So that concludes the Torah portion, and moving on to the half-Torah portion, we're going to focus on Ezekiel chapter 43, verse 19. So even though the half-Torah's main thrust is the altar, for there to be an altar, you have to have a priest, and you have to have them dressed in a special in their special garments. But just as the garments are to be special, so is their lineage. Everything from the design of the tabernacle and its furnishings is to the priestly garments, to the linen from which the priest from the lineage from which the priest descended is very specific, because God has His reasons and purpose, even if we don't understand them all. And moving on to our Brit Chadasha portion in Revelation chapter 1, verses 12 through 17, and chapter 19, verses 11 through 16. In Revelation, Yeshua HaMashiach is our high priest after the higher and older order of priesthood of Melchizedek. And our king, he's our king. He's from the tribe of Judah. And though from the line of David, the book of Revelation and the passages that I just mentioned describe his special garments. Now, that's one thing that confuses a lot of people, is where Yeshua is not a Levitical priest, because he is from the tribe of Judah, and Judah is not in the priesthood. It's only the tribe of Levi. But Yeshua is a priest, because he's the priest after the order of Melchizedek, which in the Torah, Melchizedek was this mysterious priest from Salem, which the rabbis attribute to Noah's son Shem. And so that was the very first priesthood. The Levitical priesthood came afterwards. So the Melchizedekian priesthood is a more ancient, more older, more higher and authoritative order of priesthood than Melchizedek. So when Yeshua comes to reign on earth, he is going to be the high priest, the Kohen Hagadol, and he is going to supervise the Levitical priesthood. The Levitical priesthood is going to be under his rule and authority and instruction. So both the priesthoods remain intact, because Yeshua is a priest of the order of Melchizedek does not negate the Levitical priesthood, because Yeshua said that all of the tribes have an inheritance in land besides Levi. Their inheritance is the service to God in the temple. So God's not going to take that away from them and strip them of their inheritance. So even when Messiah comes, the temple is going to rebuild, the sacrifices are going to resume, and Yeshua is going to reign from the temple and supervise the Levitical priesthood, and he's going to be the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest of the order of Melchizedek. So anyway, that concludes our Torah, half-Torah, and Brit Chadasha portion for this week. Thanks so much for listening and joining. Hope you have a great day and a great week. Shabbat Shalom and Shavua Tov. Start your week out with a jolt. Join me, Chris Shoemaker, for the weekly Sunday morning jumpstart. Your Sunday sermon to start your week off right.